The Last of Us is a Sony PlayStation video game that follows the story of Joel and Ellie as they travel through a world destroyed by a global pandemic that turns people into zombie-like creatures. The game was very successful for the developers Naughty Dog, not only with critiques, but also with PlayStation fans, as the game sold 12.7 million copies when first released. It wasn't surprising at all that a sequel to the game was in development very shortly after, but even though financially Part 2 was a success, it was met with a lot of controversy because of various aspects of the game. But I want to focus on just one of those controversies, the biggest one, the death of the main character Joel. Joel's death was not received well by the fans of the franchise, and the game would go on to get a lot of backlash online, some giving it terrible ratings and bad reviews. There were many reasons why people said they could not accept his death. Some saying he acted out of character, others saying it happened too early in the game. Whatever the reasons were, their love for the franchise all but turned to complete hate. Now, I have played both games in the franchise and I understand why fans feel this way, but I actually don't think that any of the reasons they gave was the real reason Joel's death didn't work. I believe you could still have Joel killed in the same brutal manner by the same antagonist, but have it be accepted by the audience. The one mistake that the writers of the game made was that they decided not to follow one of the most important rules of storytelling, which is in your Act 1, you must show an audience everything they need to know to understand the rest of the story. The storytellers took a risk and decided to break this rule and move information that was supposed to be in Act 1 and they placed it in Act 2 of the story. That piece of information that they didn't show was that Joel had completed his character arc before he was killed. Now I'm going to try to explain this to you in a way that doesn't require you to have studied screenwriting or filmmaking. So here goes. In the opening scene of The Last of Us 2, Joel tells his brother Tommy about what really happened at the end of the first game. How he had to kill the doctors who were trying to find a cure for the virus at the expense of Ellie's life. We can see that this is a secret that he has been holding on to for a very long time. And even after so many years, he is only just telling his brother. This scene gives the impression that Tommy is the first person Joel is telling this to, and still hasn't told Ellie. Most characters at the beginning of a story usually have a fatal flaw. It's something they need to change about themselves in order to become a better person. Joel's fatal flaw at the beginning of The Last of Us 2 is not telling Ellie the truth about what really happened. As you play through more of Act 1 of the game, we find out through Ellie's interactions with other characters that her relationship with Joel is not the same way we left it at the end of the first game. We are only given very vague hints that something has fractured their relationship, but we are left in the dark as to what it really is. Fast forward, Abby kills Joel, and all the fans get angry, and some even stop playing the game. For those of us who were able to tolerate Joel's death and continue playing on, it was later shown while Joel and Ellie's relationship decayed, but at this point it was already too late. Several hours of gameplay after Joel's death, we are finally shown a flashback where Ellie confronts Joel about what happened at the end of the first game. After finding a tape recorder, solidifying what she believed all along, Ellie confronts Joel and gives him an ultimatum. He either tells her the truth and she will go back home with him, or lie and she will never speak to him again. Joel finally overcomes his fatal flaw and tells Ellie what really happened, that he stopped them from making the cure because it would have killed her. In this moment, Joel completes his character arc and overcomes his fatal flaw. He grows as a character in this moment. I believe that if the storytellers had placed this scene in Act 1 and not 4 to 5 hours of gameplay after his death, the audience would have accepted it. Technically, Joel didn't die a flawed character, but it didn't matter because the audience thought that he died without actually telling Ellie the truth. And even though they do show him completing his character arc in the flashback, the damage was already done. It was too late for the audience to forgive the storytellers. As The Last of Us 2 is a sequel that switches the main character from Joel to Ellie, this is another reason why this scene should have come before Joel's death. When Joel overcomes his fatal flaw, his character's journey is over. He has become a better version of himself. The story can now switch to Ellie, who must now decide on whether she is going to forgive Joel or not. And in this case, the storytellers did the right thing by not having Ellie forgive Joel. Ellie's inability to forgive Joel makes her the flawed character of the story, and this is the flaw that will set the story in motion. Now, with these events in play, Ellie's unwillingness to forgive Joel should lead in some way to his execution by Abby. I'm not sure exactly how, but that's totally up to the writers. You can have the death scene happen the same way, but now that the audience knows that Ellie's unwillingness to forgive Joel led to his demise and her never getting the opportunity to forgive him, makes this scene even more impactful but much more acceptable. Now, there might still be time to correct this mistake because season 2 of the HBO adaptation of the game is in the works, and this is the season where Joel's character is supposed to die. Hopefully the showrunners realize the very small but very impactful mistake they made in the video game version, and they use this second chance to make things right with the fans of these characters and this story.